Who day, everybody? Hello, Mikey. All right. Well. Okay then. Yeah. I don't know. This is the first episode we're doing of the power ranking show. It's not just the power ranking show. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Obviously, the off season's coming up. There won't be a whole lot of power ranks to do before too long. But me and Mikey today, the main thing I think we're doing is talking about how we view power ranks. Basically, the last viable power rankings of the season. Well, obviously, as the playoffs go along, we'll rank how the remaining teams are doing. But this is how they kind of finish during the regular season. So I'll go ahead and bring that up and put that one down. Okay, that's not working. Okay, there we go. All right. So working out all the kinks here. But anyway, you can see there's a few discrepancies. Mikey, you got the Bills as the number one team in the NFL. What you thinking as far as that goes? How you think? Like, you think the Bills are better than the Lions? Lions look pretty damn good to me. You see what they did to the Vikings? That was a few weeks ago, though. I mean, okay, that's fair. True. I'll give you that. You got a lot of noise going on in the background of your thing there. Okay. Yeah. So Connor says, "What's up?" By the way. My thing about the Lions. The Lions have just like absolutely. The Bills have too. I'll give you that the Bills beat them, but like. Yeah, the Bills put up 48 points on the Lions, but like the Lions scored 42, so it's not like like Josh Allen had a big day. The Bills offense did really well, but I mean their defense didn't do well against the Lions at all. I guess, but like I mean they almost kind of came back there. Like I mean like how much of a damn did they not give? I mean they only won by 6 points. I mean, I guess it could have, but like, I mean, let's say, Jared Goff. I mean, like the Lions were kind of starting to get going. Let's say Jared Goff doesn't fumble there in the third quarter and they end up scoring a touchdown on that drive, then it's just touchdown. Lions probably end up winning that game. That's not true. They got absolutely obliterated by the Ravens. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like the Bills are the only the Lions lost to the Buccaneers by 4 points, and they lost to the Bills by 6 points. But those are the only two games they lost all year. And like I said, the Bills got obliterated by the Ravens,
And
and they also lost to the Texans too. Yes.
I wouldn't
I wouldn't say
manhandled,
manhandled,
but
but fair enough. Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out right now. What's up?
You called the wrong thing.
Got the tilapia out.
It's shrimp.
Oh, sorry. I'll figure it out, babe.
Are you
I'm
doing
I'm live, yeah, right now.
Um,
Okay, so continue talking about the Bills real quick, so I can just check this volume thing.
testing.
Testing. Sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I think I might have figured out the audio here. So I appreciate you, again, Will, for pointing that out to me. It wasn't quite properly set up, but I think I got it now. So, Mikey, your volume is quite loud, so I have to turn yours down. But I do get what you're saying though, as far as the Bills go. I just think I mean, first of all, the Bills are 13-4. The Lions are 15-2. Um, I get that they beat the Chiefs, but like I didn't. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna play that game. Chiefs are 15-2 as well. Do you think they're the best team ever?
I don't, but I think the Lions have had some, have had more impressive victories. In some cases, like I mean, like I definitely think the Lions are better than the Chiefs. I could say that. Now, I
Yeah,
mean, what would happen
yeah.
between the two if they played each other? I don't know because obviously the Chiefs have black magic and the NFL just desires to have like Patrick Mahomes be Michael Jordan. Um,
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what's the most impressive win that the Chiefs have had this year? Like, I mean, both me and you, by the way, have the Chiefs probably lower. Let me bring that back up real quick. Both me and you have the Chiefs lower than I think a lot of people would have them. Um,
Yeah, the
well,
nine.
I had them. I have them at 3. Most people have them at like 1. You have them at 9, which I think is a little too low. But I also I feel it, and I probably have them too high. I just my perspective is I don't like. I mean, if they like. I mean, the rest of these teams, for me, I got the Eagles at 4, the Ravens at 5, Commanders at 6, Rams at 8, Vikings at 7. Like, and none of these teams, I think, are necessarily. I mean, like you got the Broncos and the Packers and the Commanders and the Ravens, and the Vikings, which isn't kind of insane to me. And Eagles are arguable, but like all those teams, you really think are better than the Chiefs?
Yes, I do because okay, Let's go one by one then, right? So, all right. So look, the Bills. They once again they beat the Chiefs. Plus they've been amazing. Lions, amazing, right? Eagles, right? Saquon Barkley is the Eagles' it factor. The Chiefs don't really got that, all right? The Vikings, I know they had one bad game against the Lions, but they're 14-3. They've had a great season, all right? Early part of the season, I was skeptical. I agree. Like, if this was early part, if we were doing power rankings earlier in the season, I probably would have had them at like maybe 7 or 8. But now, after that Falcons game, after, I forgot the teams that they played by, I remember talking about their offense, scoring on a bunch of people. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, they woke up and what's the team's name again? The Chiefs. They've not really had any impressive wins to my knowledge. And then you got the Ravens, right? Lamar Jackson been playing great football. Mahomes has. Derrick Henry been playing great football. The Chiefs number one running back, Kareem Hunt, who hasn't. And like the Ravens, I understand Chiefs beat the Ravens, et cetera, et cetera. But the Ravens, right? 30 points against the Texans, and they blew up somebody else. They blew up, for example, they blew up the Bills. They beat a lot of great teams, right? Commanders, man, Jaden Daniels is the clutchest QB in the NFL this season, and you cannot say otherwise. The Packers, right? I was a little, I was a little, I would admit I was a little high on the Packers, but I'm still putting the Packers at 7 because I think if Jordan Love does not get hurt, I understand they're down 14-3 against the Bears, but the Packers, they were gaining some momentum, but then Jordan Love got hurt. So I think the Packers are still a top 10 team in my opinion. And the Broncos, I mean, one, they should have swept the Chiefs this season, and two, I mean, the Broncos just, in my opinion, have been playing better football. So that's the teams I have against ahead of the Chiefs.
The Broncos have been playing better football. I don't know. It's been for most of the season. The Broncos have been not a team that I've really been really concerned myself with too much. I didn't even think they were going to make the playoffs for the longest time. They were doing all right, but like I mean, Bo Nix for the most part was kind of up and down. I would say this year, and then I mean, like we beat them in what is essentially a playoff game, and then we didn't get in the playoffs, but it was kind of that game was kind of more or less a playoff game because like the Broncos needed to win that game to get in the playoffs, and we needed to win that game to stay alive in the race. And we ended up getting an advantage up over them, but we were too far behind for that advantage to really matter. But I mean they lost to the Chargers and the Bengals back to back, which are playoff teams, and then they beat the Chiefs backups 38-0, which appeared to be the Chiefs like throwing the game. But like I mean, look at the teams that the Broncos have beaten this year. They beat the Buccaneers. Give them credit for that. They really put the hurting on the Buccaneers. But then I mean Jets, Raiders, Saints, sorry, Panthers, Falcons, Raiders, Browns, Colts. Like good God. I was like and then the Chiefs JV squad. So it's like I do think the Broncos are a pretty good team, but I don't see them as a top 10 team in the playoff race. They got to at least be a top 14 team because they're in the playoffs. But they lost to us, and we're not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I understand that, but the games that the Broncos lost against good teams, once again, good teams, They played the Chargers and the Bengals, right?
Mm-hmm.
When in the Chargers and Bengals game were you like, oh, the Broncos are getting dominated? Like
In the Chargers
when,
and Broncos game?
yeah, like when did you think the game was truly over? Like,
I don't know if I ever really thought the game. I didn't say they got dominated. I didn't say they got dominated. Now they were down by they were down by 10 late in that game. They weren't dominating. They were leading at the half, and I get that. But like the Chargers, I don't think that the Chargers are like really anything to get all that excited about. I got the Chargers at 11, right ahead of the Broncos, because when push came to shove, the Chargers got the job done and the Broncos didn't. But I mean, you know, you don't have that much different on the Chargers. You got them at 10 instead of like basically we got the Buccaneers and the Chargers swapped.
yeah, like look, the Chargers, it's weird because like, you know, they scored 17 points in back-to-back games against the Falcons, which they won. You know why? Because the Falcons suck, and they scored 17 against the Bucks, and then they got blown out. So I understand that the Chargers are not the best team in the world, but like you got to give the Broncos credit, man. They were like what? Like they were like 0-2 to start the season. They had like 3 wins at the midseason mark. A lot of people wrote them off, and then Bo Nix actually. There was a point where people had Bo Nix as the offensive rookie of the year. I never did, but there was a point where people did. So I'm just saying, man. Like if you want to play that into account, like the Broncos have been a good team, man. Like
I think the Broncos. I think the Broncos have been a good team, and I think it's possible that, I mean, if they can really get their shit together, I don't really count that Week 18 game for much anything, but if the Broncos can get their shit together, the Broncos could make a run, and I kind of hope they do, because, like, out of all the teams in the AFC, I think the Broncos are the team that, like, pisses me off the least. Maybe the Bills. I like the Bills okay. I just, you know, I don't need Josh Allen to get ahead of Joe Burrow as far as rings go. But that's just petty on my part. But Genwill made a good point though. With all due respect, if I recall correctly, Genwill's a Chargers fan. But even if not, it's a good point about the Chargers. With all due respect, we dominated them in the second half, and that's trut. Like I mean, the Broncos, the Broncos were doing really well in that game. In the first half, but in the second half, the Chargers put a smackdown on them, and that's my biggest problem with the Broncos is they're inconsistent.
Yeah, I understand, but like you gotta also look that in that perspective as well. I understand, but like the Broncos, right? That game against the Chargers, right, wasn't showing how fraudulent the Broncos could be. But what I'm saying is that they're playing an AFC West opponent, right? They're playing a divisional rival, and the fact that they were playing great in the first half, that showed a lot of poise to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the second half it kind of fell off a bit. But that showed poise to me, right? Where the Broncos were like, okay, we're going to come out and we're going to come out swinging. Okay? And to be honest with you, they could have won that game if the freaking Chargers didn't do the weirdest kick I've seen in my life. So, like, that's really all I'm saying. So.
You can also account the fact, this is Genwill saying again, you can also account the fact that it was Sean Payton again, like he's done over and over again. And that right there is my biggest issue with Sean Payton. Like he's a really talented coach, but he doesn't have, in my opinion, he's too chaotic, and he can't seem to always get a hold of his team the way he needs to get a hold of his team. I know he won a Super Bowl, and that was a great season that the Saints had. I know you don't remember it because you weren't, I think, born yet, but I remember that Super Bowl. What?
I was, but all right.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you were like a baby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember if you were born yet or if you were like, I know you didn't see it. You've told me many times you didn't see it. So, like, I remember that Super Bowl, and Drew Brees was on, like, that was like the Drew Brees show. Like he was dominating the headlines and the NFL and stuff, and like Sean Payton. Nobody talked about Sean Payton until, like, after they won that Super Bowl. And then, you know, going forward, Sean Payton kind of became a household name. But, I mean, nobody really talked about Sean Payton that season. Other than, like, oh, he used to coach for the Cowboys. That was kind of the whole narrative around Sean Payton.
All right, I have a question for you. If Mahomes had Matt Eberflus as his head coach, do you think they win Super Bowls?
Oh yeah, Saints. Yeah, that was the Super Bowl. Who was Matt? Like who?
If the Chiefs head coach is Matt Eberflus right now,
Uh-huh.
and when Mahomes won those Super Bowls, is Mahomes a 3-time Super Bowl champ?
No, absolutely
Okay,
not.
if let's say if Tom, well, okay, how about this? Let's say if who else won a Super Bowl? Let's say if Matthew Stafford when he went to the Rams, if his head coach is Adam Gase, does he win a Super Bowl?
Who now?
Adam Gase, the
Yeah.
former Jets coach.
Yeah. If Adam Gase was whose coach now?
He was the Jets coach.
He was the Jets coach.
But like, if he was the coach of the Rams,
The Rams.
when Stafford won Super Bowl, it was the Rams won.
I mean, I don't. Maybe. I don't know, cause like, I get what you're kind of saying there with like Sean McVay, but like I think Sean McVay is like a good coach, but not a great coach, and I think Adam Gase. I'm not saying Adam Gase was a good coach by any means, but I'm saying I think part of Adam Gase's problem as a head coach is the situations he was in. He was in some awful situations as a head coach, and I think Sean McVay has been in a really good situation in Los Angeles. I think he's done a good job of team building, but I don't think Sean McVay is like this. I think Matt Stafford and Aaron Donald won that Super Bowl. Particularly Aaron Donald.
What I'm saying is that coaching matters. All right, coaching matters. You can't just
coaching does matter, but a coach is part of a system. A coach doesn't do all of it themselves. Just like with a quarterback. Quarterback is part of a system. Sometimes you have Patrick Mahomes just going insane. Sometimes you have Joe Burrow like just using whatever black magic he can find to like will the Bengals of all fucking teams to a Super Bowl. But most of the time, it's not really like that. Most of the time, you generally have to have a quarterback playing really well, but you have to kind of have a whole system kind of working together really well. And I'm not saying Sean Payton was bad. I'm just saying, he's like, I wouldn't put Sean Payton up there with like Andy Reid, is what I'm saying.
All right, I agree. I don't think I agree with that. But what I'm saying is that a lot of people are acting like Sean Payton didn't help us win that Super Bowl. And that's what I'm saying. Because like the thing is, right? He came the same year Drew Brees came, right? Right in 2006, right after Hurricane Katrina. And what happened was Drew Brees before Sean Payton worked with Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Brees was about to be out the NFL, was he not? So that's what I'm saying. Because like the Chargers, they gave up on him completely. They still had Drew Brees on the roster.
Drew Brees,
yeah. Rivers. You know why? Because they gave up on Brees.
Well,
when Sean Payton and Drew Brees worked together, that's when the magic started happening with Drew Brees and Sean Payton.
But no, Drew Brees was not about to be out of the NFL. He wasn't. No, he was the hottest free agent in the NFL at the time. Dolphins fans to this day are furious that they didn't end up signing him. He would not have been out of the NFL. He would have found another team. I'm not saying he would have like gone insane. Maybe he had good chemistry with Sean Payton. I'm not saying that. Maybe the Saints were a good situation for him. I'm just saying that Drew Brees, when Drew Brees was on the Chargers, was a good quarterback. Like the Chargers moved on from him because of like injury problems and because they was just like that particular year it was like a really legendary quarterback class and it's just kind of like, well, you got to shoot your shot if you have it. And then Eli Manning was being a bitch about everything, and so they wanted Eli Manning, but he was being a bitch about it, and so they had to take Phillip Rivers so that Eli Manning. No, wait. If I recall correctly, I think they did take Eli Manning, but Eli Manning strong-armed them into trading with the Giants. And I think the Giants took Phillip Rivers, and then they had to trade him like the day of the draft or something like that.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying Sean Payton's the best coach of all time. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you gotta take it into account, right? You gotta give him some credit, because I'm sorry, if Sean Payton's not the Saints coach, I'm sorry. Look, Drew Brees may be on, I don't think Drew Brees would have been what he turned out to be. Because also one other thing, right? When Drew Brees got hurt in 2019, right? In 2019, Drew Brees got hurt. The Saints were 8-1 with backup quarterbacks, right? And then the year after that, Drew Brees got hurt again in 2020 in 2019. The Saints went 8-1. without Drew Brees, and then 2020 Drew Brees got hurt again, and the Saints went like 3-1, right? So it might have been 5-0 then 3-1, but together 8-1 in 2 years. Like I'm sorry, like Taysom Hill was a basically an athlete, but was not a quarterback, right?
Yeah,
And
but
Taysom Hill played quarterback, and we went on an incredible winning streak, right? And I understand the playoff Saints. I understand that he couldn't get over the hump eventually. What I'm saying is that Sean Payton, he created the Saints. Like he drafted guys like Michael Thomas when he was in his prime. He drafted guys like Kamara. He drafted, he signed Jameis Winston, and before you're like, oh, James was not that great. In 2021, the Saints were 6-2 with Jameis Winston starting at quarterback. He gets hurt, and then we have to rely on Trevor's stupid Simeon.
yeah,
And
okay.
then that's when everything went downhill.
But that's kind of my point, though. Like, I mean, you're talking about these guys. You're talking about these great seasons or these great performances that Sean Payton put together, and give him credit. Give him credit for keeping things together. But Zach Taylor won games with Jake Browning. We're not acting like Zach Taylor is like one of the greatest coaches in the NFL. And not to mention the quarterbacks that he like. Yes, Taysom Hill. I get Taysom Hill. I also know that Sean Payton had like a thing for Taysom Hill. He just really, really liked the kid, and I think he had a game plan for Taysom Hill that was just fairly unique. The 2019 season, he had Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston. Both of those guys are not bad quarterbacks. They were both first-round picks, and I know that neither of them, we didn't work out with their original team. With Winston, it's a little bit more because, he ended up throwing a lot of interceptions. But with Teddy, it's literally just because he got hurt. Like, that guy was not a bad quarterback.
Yeah, look, I understand that. Look, like I said, I'm not saying Sean Payton's the best coach to ever walk this planet. But one thing I will say, he is the best Saints coach to ever walk this planet, okay? We're going to say that. Way better than Jim Mora, way better than Dennis Allen, way better than half the guys on the team, right? Or that used to be coaches, right? But number two, right, Sean Payton, right? If the Saints didn't hire Sean Payton, we would have been probably stuck with Mike McCarthy, to be honest. If he never took that Green Bay job, Mike McCarthy was our offensive coordinator. So we might have been stuck with McCarthy. And I'm sorry, if Drew Brees and McCarthy was together, we're not winning.
I completely disagree. I mean, I do think that Sean Payton's a better coach than Mike McCarthy. I'm not saying that. But I completely disagree. I think Drew Brees wins that Super Bowl in 2009 with Payton or McCarthy.
Yeah, but, also, if you even take Mike McCarthy out of this, the Saints, right? Also, the quarterbacks that Teddy Bridgewater beat, the teams that we beat, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, who were undefeated, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, who were undefeated, Jameis Winston and the Bucs, who were around the middle of the pack. We beat, there was another team we beat. They're slipping my mind. But, the Saints were 8-1 or whatever when Drew Brees came back, right? And then what's his name? With Taysom Hill, yes, we didn't beat no great quarterbacks, right? But Drew Brees was injured playing against the Chiefs, who were the best team in the NFL that year, and we almost beat the Chiefs with an injured Drew Brees that did not throw the ball deep anymore. So that's all I'm saying. Look, I understand Drew Brees ain't the best coach. I understand he may not be everybody's favorite guy on the planet, but what I'm saying is Drew Brees is not. He's not just a lot of people just remember him for bounty gate and stuff. And to be honest, that's not all on Sean Payton. That's more Greg Williams, but that's another story for a different day. But what I'm saying is that Sean Payton the Saints didn't win the Super Bowl in spite of Payton. Yes, Drew Brees was the main factor that the Saints won the Super Bowl. Drew Brees was the best quarterback the Saints have ever had. Don't get me wrong. And you can argue he should have won the MVP that season if Peyton Manning they didn't love Peyton Manning that much, because Drew Brees had a better season than Peyton Manning. But once again, that's what I'm saying right now today. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Drew Brees and Sean Payton, they worked together.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
All right, so let's put a pin in that. Let's agree to disagree for now on Sean Payton, but maybe we should make a whole episode about that. But we're kind of getting off track from the power rankings, and Genwill kind of pointed that out, and it's a good point. But I think to kind of pull it back, though, the point was about the Broncos, And I definitely don't think Sean Payton right now, especially with what he's done with the Broncos, I think it's shown that at least right now, Sean Payton and the Broncos, combined with Bo Nix and everything that they have, they're inconsistent. And they could, I feel like you've got them ranked higher than I do, and I'm the one arguing that they can make a run, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean the Broncos. I mean, hey, when I was streaming Saints Broncos game, I remember you brought up how the Broncos would make the playoffs, and I said, "Heck no." And hey, here we are.
Yeah.
The playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Broncos. I mean, first of all, the Broncos have always had a really good defense. Maybe not elite always, but they've always had a really good defense. And
did you see that Dolphins game last year?
I don't remember the Dolphins game last year, but again, I'm not saying it's elite. I'm not saying they're always 100% all the time. But I'm saying they have a lot of talent.
Yeah, they do have a lot of talent. You know, you got Patrick Surtain, but what I'm saying is that the Broncos, they had what 9 straight years of not making the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they brought in a new QB, they brought in a new coach, they brought in lots of talent, and then 2 years later, bam, they're in the playoffs.
It's a good idea. Maybe we'll do some head coach power rankings at some point. So
maybe. I would definitely have a lot of hot takes for that episode.
So I want to talk about the Packers. Jim actually brought up the Packers. Now I agree about the Steelers. He said Steelers and Packers don't deserve to be in the playoffs for what happened the last few weeks. And I don't know. I don't quite agree with the Packers. I think the Packers have gotten the job done. But what I will say is, I think I actually wasn't really paying attention. And I have them ranked lower than you do, but I think I still might have the Packers ranked too high. I think I probably should have been paying a little bit more attention on that. But just because, we don't know what's going on right now with Jordan Love and Christian Watson, and
Watson's out for the season.
Christian Watson's out for the season. Well, then I definitely have them too high. They might not make it. They're almost certainly not making it past the Eagles.
To be fair, I also had them higher before Watson injury, but then I didn't have any time to change it, to be honest with you.
So it's okay, but well, I mean, even then though, I still think 7's a bit rich for the 7th seed in the NFC.
I mean, yeah, but look, people got to say that the NFC, in my opinion, this year is probably the most competitive conference in the NFL between the AFC and the NFC. Right.
Well,
if you look at the teams the Green Bay Packers have played, hold on, let me pull up the Packers schedule. Because the teams the Packers have played, they ain't a lot of teams. Don't get me wrong, are not just get rid of them. Okay, so week 1, I understand week 1.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the 70-20 game. You're right. I forgot about that. Thanks, John. John just reminded me that was the 70-20 game, the Dolphins game, the one you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Packers week 1, right? They played the Eagles. They only lost by a few points, and they could have won that game if Love didn't get hurt at the end, right? They played the Colts and the Titans with Malik Willis starting, and they did win those games. They played the Vikings with Jordan Love only at 70%, and they nearly came back to beat them. They played the Rams, another good team. They weren't that good at the time, but the Rams were starting to get on the right track, and then the Packers ended up beating them at the end. They blew out the Cardinals, who were a team that was fighting for the NFC West. They beat the Texans, who at the time was people who thought that they could, if they kept playing as well as they did to start the season, that they could maybe make a run to the second or third round of the playoffs. The Jaguars, it was a little bit close, but they got the job done. The Lions game, they only lost by 10, but the Lions, they were a good team, like we were saying earlier. The Bears, it's a divisional game, and they were able to win. They blow out the 49ers. I understand 49ers, backup quarterback, etc. But they blow out the 49ers. They beat the Dolphins, with Tua starting in the cold, I understand. But then they played the Lions, right? And they almost beat the Lions at their home field. And then the Seahawks, who were another team that was fighting, that was in the playoffs at one point, and they beat them by 3 scores in their home field. They shut out my Saints because we're complete garbage. They then they almost come back to beat the Vikings again, and then they lost to the Bears mostly because Love got hurt. So what I'm saying is that from looking at the Packers playing football, I don't even think they got blown out one time this season. So that's what I'm saying. The Packers, in my opinion, they're a great team, and they've proved it time and time again.
Yeah, I don't know if I think the Packers are a great team, but I think the Packers are maybe wily. I think the Packers could kind of look. It's possible the Packers could kind of get going. My biggest issue, and the reason why I think I have them too high right now, like I think I might even put them like under the Broncos, like maybe at 12, is just because we don't know what's up with Jordan Love, and if Christian Watson's out for the season, I'm sorry, but like I'm really skeptical.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that is a blow. But like, also, man, like the Packers, they still have a good receiving room even without Watson. Like they got Romeo Dobbs, Jay and Reed, even Luke Musgrave is tight end. Josh Jacobs even caught a touchdown this season. So that's he finally got that off of his career because he hasn't done that with the Raiders. So he finally did that with the Packers. So I'm saying, man, like even without Watson, I feel like the Packers still they could. I don't think they will. But they could make that Eagles playoff game interesting. I'm not saying they will, but I'm not saying that they're probably not going to win. But I won't be shocked if the Packers come away with the win. But I'm not saying that they will. But that's just me.
So you think that the Steelers are better than the Texans?
Yes,
Why?
I do. Because the Texans pissed me off.
Okay, but didn't the Steelers also do that?
Well, yes, but to a certain extent. Like the Texans, the Lions threw them 5 interceptions, Kyle. Did you hear that number? 5 interceptions against Detroit. And that's also why I put the Bills over them. But yeah, 5 interceptions, and the Texans lost. They lost to the Titans. They got blown out by the Ravens. They didn't get blown out, but they were about to get blown out by the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs, right? That happened. They CJ Stroud had 86 passing yards against the Packers. Like the Texans, did I imagine that they lost to the freaking Titans? That game was a no-go for me.
Okay,
Bro,
but listen, this is the team. These are the teams the Steelers have beaten this year. Okay, Falcons, week 1. Give them the Broncos, but the Broncos hadn't really heated up just quite at that point. The Chargers, they lost to the Colts. They lost to the Cowboys. And then they beat the Raiders, but everybody beats the fucking Raiders. They beat the Jets, but the Jets. Well, yeah, okay, Mikey, we both have the Saints at number 26, so I don't.
We said everybody beats the Raiders. We did it.
Okay, okay, let's talk. Okay, then everybody beats the Browns. How about that? Except for who didn't beat the Browns? So we both agreed apparently that the Browns are the worst team in the NFL. And I don't even think it's arguable at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Titans are bad. The Patriots just fired their head coach, and they're also bad. But at least they have a quarterback. But oh my God, did you watch any of the Browns games this year with DTR? It was horrendous. And if that's life after Deshaun Watson for them, although to be fair, they might not be moving on from Deshaun Watson just yet. So I'm not sure that's good though.
I mean, they could sign Kirk Cousins in free agency if they want to.
Let's see. So the Steelers. Okay, hey, well, there's a perfect example right there. The Steelers lost to the Browns. Mikey.
I understand that, but it was in Cleveland in the cold weather. Jameis Winston starting.
The Steelers are from Pittsburgh. They can handle cold weather.
Good for them. But okay, Browns. Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is the best QB the Saints have had since Drew Brees retired. That's with their call, and I did not stutter.
Okay. Let's see. So the Steelers, the Steelers, I'll give them credit for beating the Commanders. Okay, and that was when the Commanders were on a really hot streak. So the Steelers were kind of the first team to really kind of get the better of them. They beat the Ravens, but then they came back and got obliterated by the Ravens later in the season in a must-win type of game for them. That was a much more for the division. I mean, they put up 44 on us, but and then they turned around to put up 17 on us later in the season. So the last 4 games for the Steelers have been a loss to the Eagles, a loss to the Ravens, a loss to the Chiefs, and a loss to us. And and none of these games, the only game that was close was the game with us. And that's partly because we only put up 19 points, and TJ Watt did TJ Watt things against Devin Cochran. But here I'm putting them partially because my philosophy is I have to put if we're making if we're making power rankings this late in the season, I have to put playoff teams in the top 14. That's kind of like my rule. But like the Steelers, just like when's the last time they beat anybody who was even halfway decent? Like, I mean, again, there's the Ravens and Commanders back to back, but since then it was a loss to the Browns. It was a crazy, weird win against us that shouldn't have been the case if Joe Burrow doesn't fumble. Then they did beat the Browns after losing to them, and then they lost they lost 4 in a row against all should have been like three playoff teams and a Bengals team that was basically playing like a playoff team.
Texans scored 2 points against the Ravens. Almost lost to the Jaguars. Did lose to the Titans. Like, do I need to continue? They threw 86 yards against the Packers and lost on a walk-off field goal to a former Jaguars kicker. Like, they allowed Drake May to – they blew out the Patriots, but Drake May started tearing up the Texans' defense. Like, I'm sorry. The Texans, they don't scream, oh, we are somewhat good. Like, I guarantee you, put the Texans anywhere else – other than the AFC South, because I'll give the Steelers credit, all right? You may not like this, but the Steelers play in one of the toughest divisions of football, being the AFC North, with teams like, other than the Browns, being the Bengals and the Ravens, right? Steelers beat the Ravens and beat the Bengals. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, Steelers, they've had a great win against the Commanders. Like, that game, I understand it didn't start out great, but they played a great game. Like, the Texans scored 2 points against the Ravens, for crying out loud. They lost to the Chiefs 27-19.
They also beat the Bills.
They beat the Bills, exactly, and the Bills were shooting themselves in the foot that game.
I mean, I understand that, but I understand that, but like, I mean, they beat the Bills. They came within 3 points of beating the Lions. I mean, I'm okay. Listen, I'm not saying the Texans are a team that's. I'm not saying the Texans are a team that I think is really super all that impressive right now at all. I'm just saying I think they might be better than the bum-ass Steelers.
Yeah, well, look, I understand that, right? And the Steelers, I will give them the opposite of credit. They suck too. But at least the Steelers can say this. They didn't lose a game where the quarterback threw them the ball 5 times.
No, but they did lose to the Browns.
Exactly. The Texans lost to the Titans.
Well, I mean, according to both of us, the Browns are worse than the Titans.
And according to both of us, the Titans, well, I have the Titans the second worst team, and I would have had them below Cleveland if they would have kept DTR out the game. So...
I guess I don't know. I think the Steelers are about to get absolutely manhandled by the Bills. And I think
they're playing the Ravens.
They're playing the Ravens. I'm sorry. I think the Steelers are about to get manhandled by the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs.
I don't think they'll win.
I think the Texans might beat the Chargers.
I could see that. Yeah, I think I could see the Texans winning. But the thing is, it's also because I think the Chargers are also fraudulent too. They might be a little bit more fraudulent than the Texans. I'm just saying, but like.
So, John asks why we both have Washington in the top 7, and like, I mean, what? Because they're a really good team. Like Jaden Daniels is going crazy this year. I mean, I know Washington hasn't been like they were on a really dominant run earlier in the season, and then they like kind of stopped doing that. But I mean, this is still a team. I mean, they put up 42 points on the Titans, and I know the Titans suck, but that's still impressive. They only beat the Saints by 1 point in a low scoring game, so that fair and that's.
But should have won that game. Okay, continue.
Well, right, but I think that's a fair point. But I mean, they beat the Eagles 36-33. Like they're a good team. Like. I don't really see any argument that the Commanders aren't a good team. I would maybe even make the argument that I could see them being ahead of the Ravens, and the only reason I wouldn't put them ahead of the Eagles is frankly because the Eagles won that division. But most recently the Commanders beat the Eagles, so I feel like power rankings to some extent need to have a recency bias because we're talking about like ranking them as far as power goes, and so maybe the Commanders honestly should be like number 4 on this list.
Yeah, like look, the Commanders, man, look. Not only that, but before the season, a lot of people thought the Commanders were going to finish last or at least third in that division, right? They came out and they were leading that division for halfway through the season, and then the Eagles ended up getting hot at the right time. And also, Jaden Daniels, right? Look, and I can say this as an LSU fan, he is the clutchest quarterback in the NFL this season, okay? Like there is no denying that he has that clutch team. Okay, a Hail Mary against the Bears, an amazing touchdown, Dr. Terry McLaurin against the Cowboys. I understand they lost, but the kicker makes the kick. They may not lose that game. So
To be fair,
plus the
to people saying that the Commanders were going to lose, like be last in the division this year. To be fair, people didn't know about Jaden Daniels yet.
I did.
Well, you might have known. You knew him in college, but nobody knew he was going to be amazing right away in the NFL. Like, you know,
I picked the Commanders to be a fringe playoff team. So
I think they're a little bit more than the fringe playoff team, though. I think they're a wild card team.
They blew me out the wall.
Who was the fifth seed? Oh, it's the Vikings, right? Right. So,
Yeah,
but I mean, like you like. So you mentioned something earlier. You said the NFC is the more competitive conference than the AFC right now, and I'm not sure if I agree with that. Depends on what you mean by competitive, I guess. Because when I think competitive, I mean like the teams in there competing amongst themselves. I think the NFC definitely is the more talented of the two conferences right now. They definitely have the overall better teams. Although I think the Bills are the best team in the NFL right now. No, I'm sorry. You think the Bills are the best team in the you're over here. You think the Bills are the best team in the NFL right now. I think the Lions are, but you know, I still think the AFC overall has a lot of talent, and part of it is you got teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens, who I don't think always perform all the way up to their potential, and that's part of the thing. With the NFC, I mean, like maybe you can make the argument about the Eagles don't always play up to their potential, but outside of that, like I mean, the Commanders had the best season they could imagine. The Vikings probably had just about the best season they could have imagined coming into this year. The Rams are weird. The Packers probably did way better than many of us thought, like after the first game or two of this season. And then Baker Mayfield, like, dude, that is the most hilarious thing on the planet to me, that Baker Mayfield has suddenly become like a great quarterback, despite. Well, no, okay. I understand you don't like it because it's for a rival team. For me, it's not even like it is funny against a rival team of mine. So I'll be clear about that. But the reason it's funny to me, is because the Browns had him. You know, like they should have, and that's the point. And both me and Thomas on the Battle of Ohio podcast tried to make that point over and over. That like, dude, Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. Like, just keep him around. Like, at the time, we didn't even know Deshaun Watson was gonna suck. Now I think we were having a lot of issues around that time, so we didn't do a lot of episodes around the time when the Deshaun Watson saga was happening. But I was doing episodes of my own show, and I was saying that like Deshaun Watson, you know, might be a really good quarterback, but we just don't know what he's going to look like after this much time off, and like the amount of like capital you're going to have to give up to go get him when you already have a really good quarterback, you know, who he was hurt last year. But, you know, in general, like Baker Mayfield was a good quarterback who got the Browns their first playoff win in however freaking long, and a dominant one against the Steelers at that. I don't know. To me, I did not understand the logic of like throwing that away for Deshaun Watson when, again, you don't even know what you're getting out of Deshaun Watson. Like, is Deshaun Watson?
The universe has ways to piss me off.
Do what?
Because the universe has ways to piss me off.
And you and Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny, right? Because shout out to my pops, right? But he has his own YouTube channel, right? And literally before the Bucks signed Baker Mayfield, he made a video, like a YouTube short, saying this is the Saints' new franchise QB, and this is even before we signed Derek Carr. And it was just a picture of Baker Mayfield in Saints jersey, and yet we went with Derek Carr, and Derek Carr's basically been garbage.
So Genwill says, I don't care what anyone says. The Jets are number 32 in my power rankings, because of Rodgers and their owner. And my response to that is as I'm sure as I can hear Mikey doing right now, I severely disagree with that assessment, because the fact of the matter is the Browns. Like, you want to talk about a bad owner? Like Jimmy Haslam is a horrendous owner for the Browns. Like, I mean, Woody Johnson's bad. Don't get me wrong. Perhaps I have the Jets too high. Mikey has them lower than I do. I probably gave a little bit too much credit for them beating the Dolphins when the Dolphins were in a must-win type of game. Perhaps I should have them a little lower than I do. But I mean, I don't know. I think they're about equal with the Saints personally. And that's about where Mikey has them. Pretty much. Well, but that's where you put them.
I know.
The Jets should. I think the Jets should be right about on par with where the Saints are at. But not as bad as the Browns, because like, I mean, the Browns are like as bad as like Rodgers and Woody Johnson are. Don't get me wrong. Jimmy Haslam and the clusterfuck that is the Deshaun Watson situation, and or the last guy who played quarterback for them, which was DTR. Like Aaron Rodgers can like have 14,000 darkness retreats, and he'll never be as bad as DTR.
Yeah. Plus the Jets the Jets offense started clicking at the end of the year. All right.
He did not. Genwill says he set that franchise back 20 years, but he didn't. The Jets are just perpetually set back 20 years. Like, that's just how they exist.
Already set back 20 years.
Yeah,
that's
the. I mean, like, Aaron Rodgers is clearly not the same guy he used to be, but I don't think it's any more like any more. I don't think they're any more screwed than they normally are.
Yeah, they got set back 20 years when they drafted Zach Wilson. That's when the franchise got set back 20 more years.
Well, I don't know if I don't know, because like, I mean, like with Zach Wilson, what did they do with Zach Wilson? They wasted a number 2 overall pick. They could get another one with how bad they are, and that's not going to take them 20 more years to get one. It's not like Zach Wilson was like, you know, a Ryan Leaf type of diva who, like, you know, it's not like the Saints came knocking on the Jets' door and were like, hey, we're gonna give you 11 freaking draft picks because we like this one running back, and then you're like, oh no, we'd rather have Zach Wilson, Achilles Smith. No, that's not what the Jets did.
Ricky Williams is not that bad. I'm just saying.
But then again, even when we did that, 6 years after we turned down the Saints' like entire draft class for Achilles Smith. 6 years after that, we ended up with Carson Palmer, and 4 years after that, we ended up with Carson Palmer, and 6 years after that, we went to our first playoff game in forever. So this whole idea that one player is going to set you back 20 years is kind of silly.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying, look, the Jets failed to build around Zach Wilson. Like, okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Zach Wilson would have won a Super Bowl or anything, but I'm saying, like, when they drafted Zach Wilson, like, they just didn't do anything to support him. Like, yes, they had Garrett Wilson and that. They had Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, but, like, that was about it. Like, the Jets, like, a lot of their team, you know, his head coach was Robert Saleh. He wasn't the worst coach, but he definitely wasn't a guy that it was like, oh, he might be, you know, a Super Bowl winning coach, in my opinion. Like, that's just my opinion. You know, I think Robert Saleh had one opportunity and he blew it with Zach Wilson. So, like, Zach Wilson, like, he just, like, that, like, the Zach Wilson era Jets is what set the Jets back another 20 years. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just Zach Wilson.
One thing I will say, and it's kind of, I'm going to agree with you, but I'm also going to disagree with you at the same time. I'm going to agree with you that, in a way, Zach Wilson may have set the Jets back 20 years, in the idea that I think they actually had a really good opportunity of a guy who's a really good head coach, and by the way, would make a great defensive coordinator if he's looking for a job at the end of the season, and a team that I know just fired their defensive coordinator and could really use some help at that position. But anyways, Robert Saleh is a really, really good head coach, and like you're right, like the Zach Wilson era definitely sabotaged him, and so for that reason, it could be another 20 years before the Jets have an opportunity like getting a guy like Robert Saleh as your head coach again. I wouldn't be shocked to
like
see
the
Robert
Jets-
Saleh get another
Yeah,
head coaching
it's true.
job. Like I'm talking about like him replacing Lou as the DC, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Robert Saleh get one of these vacant jobs, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints need a coach, but I don't want Robert Saleh. I don't want Aaron Glenn. I don't want somebody defensive minded. You know why? You know why? Because we hired Dennis Allen. He was supposed to be this great coach. At least that's what Mickey Loomis tried to convince us. And no, what happens? Oh, we scored a touchdown. Oh shoot! I gotta apologize to these bums. I'm sorry, Falcons, that I am just a mean person.
It's funny because I actually tried to convince you that Dennis Allen would be maybe not a great coach, but would be a perfectly fine and reasonable hire for the Saints, and the Saints could do good things with him. And then Derek Carr coming in, I'm like, hey, you know, y'all could be kind of like the Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton era Bengals. Like you got that kind of talent at your head coach and your quarterback, and nope, Dennis Allen turned out to just be an idiot. Like I was completely wrong. I understand why the Raiders moved on from him so quickly. I understand why the Raiders moved on from him so quickly now. I didn't understand back in the day.
But yeah, that's not the only thing that Dennis Allen did. I remember one time I played the Cardinals when we had Andy Dalton at the time. He threw 2 back-to-back pick sixes, right? You know what Dennis Allen said after halftime? Just keep doing what you're doing. That's what he said. And at that moment, I was like, oh no. And plus, Dennis Allen refused to put Jameis Winston in the game, even though he clearly had the offense's back, right? Because against in that Minnesota game, Derek Carr, it took him to get hurt. Like, I'm not wishing injuries on anybody, but it took him to get hurt for them to put Jameis in the game. And Jameis lit the Vikings defense up in that third and fourth quarter. But no, Dennis Allen wanted to be picky and stick with his guys. And I understand, I mean, I'll always be a bad thing, but he lost the locker room. And Mickey Loomis tried to convince us that we had the next, Saints-wise, I know you may not agree with this, but that we had the next Saints, Sean Payton. And that's clearly not what Dennis Allen was. He was a great DC back in the day. Don't get me wrong. He was a great DC from 2017 to 2020 or 2021. But then he took the head coaching job in 2022, and it was just disaster. 4 straight years and not making the playoffs. You know why? No coaching, no quarterback play. And that's the problem with the Saints, all right? That's the problem. Like the Saints, they have a decent roster. Okay? Not a great roster that could win a Super Bowl right now, but they had talent. And Dennis Allen went and they effed it up. Traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson for a 6th-round pick. They cut Jarvis Landry after a year. Michael Thomas started saying how Derek Carr is a blind a-hole, and everything just went wrong. The building literally lit on fire. Literally. Like there was literally a part in like 2022 or 2023. Literally, the stadium's dome had a fire on it. That should have been a sign that we were not doing nothing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But I'm done my rant now. Continue.
Genwill mentioned. I was kind of confused at first because I was like, Genwill was like the 2021 draft. Ew, and I'm like, didn't you guys get Rashawn Slater in that draft? Like he's pretty good, isn't he? Like Rashawn.
We're talking about the quarterback.
Well, yeah, because he talking about Zach Wilson. He was like, they could have drafted Penny Sewell. I'm like, well, I guess they could have drafted Penny Sewell. But the 2021 draft was a fun one for Bengals fans because it was a frustrating one too. But there was a big there was a big debate like an all time like Civil War type of debate with Bengals fans between should we get Jamar Chase or Penny Sewell, and I was like we should get Kyle Pitts, and like holy crap Man, I was really wrong about that one.
Do you know who the Saints drafted in the first round that year? Do you want to know?
In 21, who?
Yes.
Who?
Peyton freaking Turner.
Oh yeah, I remember that. What happened with him?
That dude is garbage. That's the only problem I had with Sean Payton. He couldn't draft to save his life at the end of his career with the Saints.
At least he's still on your team. We've had worse picks than Peyton Turner.
Hayden Turner's not going to be on this team for long if he keeps tackling his own players or his own teammates.
I guess.
How do you commit a holding penalty on a field goal?
Most of the draftees in that draft, Slater has been nice. Yeah, Slater was good. Penny Sewell was a good pick. You know, I mean, like honestly, the best picks in the first round there was like, you know, Jamar Chase, Rashawn Slater, Penny Sewell, Patrick Surtain, Micah Parsons. I mean, like, you know, that first round was pretty good. Trevor Lawrence at first was pretty good, and he's kind of trailed off since then. Kyle Pitts made a Pro Bowl somehow one time, but he definitely has not been. I thought Kyle Pitts was going to be like basically what Brock Bowers has turned out to be for the Raiders. That's what I thought Kyle Pitts was going to be.
Yeah, I did too, but then I was like, oh wait, hold on, no, he plays for the Falcons. Yeah, they're going to blow that up somehow. And look at that.
Yeah.
Look, Kyle, I'm going to give you advice.
How did Mac Jones make a Pro Bowl?
What?
How did Mac Jones make a Pro Bowl?
Oh, yeah, because, that was after his rookie year when Mac Jones, everybody thought he was going to be the next Tom Brady.
I never liked Mac Jones. I was always 100% down on Mac Jones. I thought he was going to be the bust of that draft.
I thought Mac Jones had some potential, but I never thought he was going to be like what people are saying. That's why I'm kind of skeptical on Drake May, because now for eternity, if the Patriots draft somebody in the first round, it's going to be like, oh, can they fill Tom Brady's shoes? And bro, ain't nobody winning 7 Super Bowls ever again.
Yeah. Genwill, Kyle Pitts started okay for the Falcons, but he's definitely not kept that up. This year, Kyle Pitts was a big part of the problem in Atlanta.
Did you see that play against the Giants? Did you see that play?
I did, yeah.
That boy, man, he caught the ball. Hey, Giants, take the ball. I don't want it. I thought that boy was George Pickens for a second.
You know what? Like, I think it's about time to start wrapping up. But we were talking about this before we started, so go ahead and say what you need to say about George Pickens.
Yeah. So George Pickens pisses me off, okay? Because Saturday night they were playing the Cincinnati Bengals, all right? This man, bro, he had 6 targets, right? Russell Wilson, if I was Russell Wilson, I would just stop throwing him the damn ball. But this man, right? So bro, the scores were close, right? This man dropped 4 freaking passes. They got to the point where I started counting them. Like, this man had 1 reception for 0 yards, and this man would rather fight defenders than catch the ball. Bro, if you want that, just quit the NFL and go to WWE. I mean, it's like you ain't doing nothing with the NFL money. Because all you're doing is buying ski masks and. But yeah.
Okay.
Worst receiver. Man, he might. Bro, man, like the Steelers receivers, I don't know why they keep getting the goofiest receivers ever. Like they got AB, Juju, then they got Chase Claypool, and now they got George freaking Pickens. Like, why can't you just take a normal receiver?
Do you want to know why? And it's not just because they keep, you know, taking guys who turn into divas. It's because this is Mike Tomlin's coaching style. What he does is he basically lets the players be the players, and it's like in a way you can kind of understand where he's coming from. Like, you know, don't try to like parent the players too much because they're professionals. You just let them be, you know, like really talented and do their thing. But the problem is with his particular style, it's led to the Steelers kind of turning into like a constant soap opera type of team. Like the last time the Steelers were really respectable was like 2015, 2016 maybe. And even then, there was still some drama building at that point. Like pretty much through like the vast majority of Mike Tomlin's career in Pittsburgh, the Steelers have just been a drama show constantly, over and over and over and over. And that's why Steelers fans, despite the results they get from him, that's I think a big reason why Steelers fans are wanting to potentially move on from Mike Tomlin. And I would kind of agree with them. Like, you know, like, yeah, Mike Tomlin, wow, okay, cool. You've gone at least 9-7 or 9-8 every single season in your career. Awesome. Wow, wonderful. But you also haven't like won a playoff game in forever. And like you won a Super Bowl, but you won a Super Bowl with the team that Bill Cowher built, frankly.
Didn't he win 2 Super Bowls, or am I tripping?
No, he won one Super Bowl. They went to another one, but Aaron
So
Rodgers.
he didn't win the Cardinals game?
Yeah, that
Did he
was
win the Seahawks? What about the
no
Seahawks?
the Seahawks. That was Bill Cowher back in the day. Bill Cowher was the coach back then. The Cardinals game when Kurt Warner was their quarterback. That was the one Mike Tomlin where like San Antonio Holmes made that amazing catch. And James Harrison had the big run back, and I hated that game so much.
Hey,
I
you
hated
wanna know a fun
everything
fact?
about that game.
Do you want to know something funny?
What's up?
So the year after the Steelers won that game, the Saints obviously won their Super Bowl the year after, and my mom till this day hates Tracy Porter. Yeah, because he costed her money because she was doing like a football pool, and where it had to be like the last digit of both the scores, and she had 4 and 7, and the score was 24-17. So when Tracy Porter caught that ball and ran into the end zone, she cried.
Okay.
Well, that's what she felt like. Yeah. She showed me a clip of that earlier. Yeah. Or no, she showed me that Sunday, which was yesterday. But yeah.
George,
that was a crazy game.
George Pickens wants to be the next man to fight Jake Paul in the boxing ring, which is hilarious to me.
I want to fight him. I want to fight him.
You want to fight Jake Paul?
I want to fight George.
You want to fight? I don't think that's a good idea either, Mikey.
I don't care.
You might.
He's going to make my 11-6 bet.
He's a professional athlete. I think you would probably.
Are you sure?
But he's at least built like one. Whether you think he is good at what he does or not, he's still in much better physical shape than either of us combined.
Yeah, but don't worry, I'll just kick him in the balls and then he'll be crying.
You can't do that in boxing.
I never said anything about boxing.
But no, because we were talking. No, because we were talking about George Pickens wants to fight Jake Paul in the boxing ring.
Yeah, and I want to fight him, but not in no boxing ring.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I think we've been streaming for a while now, over an hour at this point. So we've had a pretty decent number of people show up for this first show. So what do you think, Mikey? I've had fun so far. You want to keep doing this?
Sure. I mean, hey, like usually my weeks be non-busy for the most part. So
I tend to get. I tend to get pretty busy, but I'll be out of school here soon, so hopefully I won't be as busy, which is part of why I'm talking about I'm going to start trying to do some more stuff for the channel anyway. So anyway, I think that's going to be it for us today, though. So I appreciate y'all showing up for this first episode. We'll like in the future we'll do like more like power rankings type things. Like I said, I really like the power ranking head coaches. So. Let's. Maybe that's something we explore once all these head coaching vacancies are filled. Yeah. You got anything else to say, Mikey?
The only thing I gotta say is, damn Falcons, y'all suck. Damn the Panthers. We didn't even allow them to score 44 on us. Damn, y'all suck. All right, they said that they were going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Okay.
Will this be like clickbait sports? No, it'll be. This would be more like, I think, a GPS style show rather than clickbait sports, because clickbait's like a round table type of thing, and I would be interested in someday doing something like that. But no, this is just going to be me and Mikey talking about NFL topics. It'll be a lot more like GPS than clickbait sports.
Yeah, so kind of like how you were doing Battle of the Ohio podcast, kind of like that.
Yeah, it'll be kind of like that, except the Battle of Ohio podcast was like a very specific idea. This is going to be just more of a general, let's talk about NFL stuff. Whereas the Battle of Ohio podcast, which is still a thing, by the way, it's not like that's dead. It's just it's very much on hiatus right now, and it's just I don't know, man. Like. I don't want to. Thomas got a lot of stuff going on. It's hard to get a hold of him sometimes, so it's just been kind of hard to do that show. But I don't know what's going on with him, so I don't want to talk out of turn too much about him. GPS is a better comparison. Yeah, I think so. But I mean, also with my channel in general, like I said, I'm coming up on my last semester of school, and so I will hiatus like the Bengals playoff appearance. Hey, we're coming back, okay? Big
The
up.
Saints aren't.
One day. Power rank your favorite
when
NFL teams in one
fire
episode.
the Women's, then maybe.
Yeah, that might be interesting. Power rank how you feel about NFL teams. Like, I mean,
I would love to do that.
that would. I mean, I could probably rank. I mean, basically every single team that's not the Bengals. My opinion is fuck them. But there's different levels of fuck them, right? Like, you know, like with the Saints, it's like, you know, well, fuck them, but nah, they're okay, I guess. But with the Steelers, it's like,
almost be saying fuck you because y'all be taking all of our defensive players.
Well, exactly. You guys are very nice to us, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
we also keep beating you.
Stupid ass Apple, Trey Hendrickson, Sheldon Rankins. Like, y'all be taking all of our defense. No wonder your defense sucked.
Yeah, well, John, we know you hate the Rams. Like, I unfortunately, Mikey will probably agree with you on that one. I probably should hate the Rams because, like, I hate the 49ers entirely because they beat us in 2 Super Bowls before I was even born. So I should probably hate the Rams. I just don't.
Wow, it was years ago.
The 49ers
doesn't feel good now, does it?
Well, no, it feels just fine. The answer is no. Fuck you, Mikey.
Exactly, but you be saying
no.
Like when I talk about the Rams game, it was like what 7 years ago? Get over it.
Yeah,
but the 49ers was in the '90s, so you get over it.
I say that to fuck with you, though. I
say that to fuck with you.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. My answer is no. No, the 49ers can get it.
The Falcons suck and the Rams suck. They suck together. Bro, I might hate the Rams not as much as the Falcons, but damn, bro, they be fighting sometimes.
And I don't think it's Eric. What does Eric Bledsoe have? It is Drew Bledsoe. But Mark.
So you mean the dude that played with the Pelicans at one point?
I think so. Mark said J.J. McCarthy is going to end up getting Bledsoed, and I don't.
You might.
I don't agree with that.
I'm not a big J.J. McCarthy guy. Even coming out the draft, I'm sorry.
I like J.J. McCarthy, but I'm not. The reason I'm saying he's not going to get Bledsoed is because nobody's ever going to get Bledsoed ever again. Like, that's not a thing. Like what happened to Bledsoe is the greatest quarterback of all time ended up being his backup, and he got hurt, and then the Patriots turned into a dynasty. I don't think that's ever going to happen again, and it's definitely not happening to the Vikings. Like, Sam Darnold is not Tom Brady, okay? Now, J.J. McCarthy could potentially lose his job to Sam Darnold, and then he's going to end up a starting quarterback for another team. And, like, Drew Bledsoe briefly ended up a starting quarterback for the Bills, I think. But, I mean, like, there was a lot more going on there than there's going to, like J.J. McCarthy is going to have all year to recover. And plus, medical science is much better than it was now and than it was in 2001. So, it's not, I don't think it's going to be the same.
Yeah. However, speaking of injuries, why do the Saints players refuse to not get hurt every single season?
Isn't that a good thing?
I mean, no. I mean, my fault. Why do the Saints players refuse to... No, why do they refuse to not get hurt?
Why do they refuse to stay healthy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because, bro, literally, it got to a point where literally the Saints currently have one current Week 1 starter on their team, right? Mm-hmm. Taysom Hill's out. Derek Carr's out. Kamara's out. What's his name? Chris Olave, Shaheed. Juwan Johnson's our only starter right now, and that pisses me off. But the Falcons suck, so that kind of makes up for it.
That's fair enough. All right, but yeah, I think we really probably should go ahead and sign off. So look forward for more content from me. Mikey's putting out a lot of good content lately, so go check him out on his channel. And yeah, I'll leave y'all as always with a hootie.